In a world where history is controlled by the powerful, one woman dares to challenge the system. Dr. Serena Hayes, respected curator at the National Museum of African American History, faces blatant discrimination when attempting to secure priceless historical documents at Thornwood Auction House. But Serena has a plan. With allies at the Phillips Foundation, she orchestrates a brilliant strategy to outbid the auction house's owner, Victor Thornwood, whose family has profited from hiding the truth for generations. As Serena secures the 3 precious lots of the Wilson collection, Thornwood realizes too late who he's dealing with. The documents reveal shocking truths about America's past that powerful people wanted buried forever. When 87-year-old Eliza Wilson-Johnson finally reads her ancestors' words after searching for 30 years, justice transcends generations. Some stories demand to be told. Some truths cannot be silenced. Black Museum curator banned from auction, only to return as the highest bidder. Was Serena right to expose the Thornwood family's dark past? Should history be preserved no matter how uncomfortable? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more stories of justice served. Dr. Serena Hayes straightened her tailored navy blazer as she entered the grand hall of Thornwood Auction House. At 52, she had dedicated her life to preserving African American cultural artifacts, rising to become the head curator at the National Museum of African American History in Washington, D.C. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in a neat bun, gold-rimmed glasses framing her observant eyes. Serena checked her watch, a gift from her late husband James, who had encouraged her pursuit of history and truth before his passing 5 years ago. She was precisely on time for the preview of the Wilson collection, a recently discovered treasure trove of Civil War-era documents that included rare first-hand accounts from formerly enslaved people. "These belong in a museum," Serena whispered to herself, reviewing her notes. The museum's board had authorized her to bid up to $1.2 million, a substantial sum that reflected the historical significance of these artifacts. As she approached the registration desk, she noticed security personnel eyeing her with unusual scrutiny. Serena was accustomed to being one of the few black faces at such exclusive events, but something felt different today. "Good afternoon," she said to the blonde woman at the registration desk. "Dr. Serena Hayes, National Museum of African American History. I'm here to register for tomorrow's auction." The woman barely looked up. "Do you have an invitation?" "Yes, of course." Serena presented her formal invitation and identification. "I've been corresponding with Mr. Thornwood directly about the Wilson collection." The woman examined her documents with exaggerated care. "One moment, please." Minutes passed as Serena stood waiting, watching as other attendees, all white, were processed quickly and allowed into the preview area. Finally, a thin man with silver hair and an expensive suit approached. "Dr. Hayes, I'm Victor Thornwood." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "There seems to be some confusion about your registration." "There shouldn't be. I have the proper invitation and credentials." Serena kept her voice measured and professional. "Yes, well, you see, the Wilson collection has generated considerable interest. We've had to limit preview access to serious bidders only." Serena raised an eyebrow. "I represent the National Museum of African American History. We are very serious bidders." Of course, of course." Thornwood's tone was dismissive. "But these artifacts are expected to command premium prices. Museum budgets can be limited." Serena discreetly activated the voice recorder on her phone. This interaction was beginning to feel all too familiar. "Our budget for this acquisition is substantial, Mr. Thornwood, and I believe I mentioned that in our correspondence." "Indeed, but we've received interest from private collectors who understand the true value of these items." He lowered his voice. "Between us, these artifacts might be better appreciated in select private collections rather than, well, you understand." Serena understood perfectly. These documents are historical treasures that tell the stories of Americans whose voices were systematically silenced. They belong where all of the public can access them. Thornwood's expression hardened. "We determine who participates in our auctions, Dr. Hayes. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at a different type of auction." "Folk art, perhaps?" A woman standing nearby gasped softly at the blatant remark. Serena noted her as a potential witness. "I'll need that in writing, Mr. Thornwood. Are you formally denying the National Museum of African American History access to this auction?" "I'm simply suggesting you may be out of your depth." His smile was cold. "The registration fee alone is $50,000, non-refundable, which I am prepared to pay right now." Serena reached for her museum credit card. Thornwood placed his hand over the card reader. "I'm afraid all our registration slots are filled. Security concern limits, you understand." Serena looked around at the half-empty registration area. "I see, and when did these slots fill up?" "I don't believe I owe you an explanation, Dr. Hayes." Thornwood signaled to security. Please escort Dr. Hayes out. She does not have authorization to be here. Two security guards approached. Serena remained perfectly composed even as her heart pounded with familiar indignation. I'll leave voluntarily, she said clearly, making sure her recorder captured everything. But know that I'm documenting this entire interaction. As Serena walked toward the exit with dignity intact, she noticed a white woman with striking red hair watching the scene with evident disapproval. Excuse me, the woman said, approaching Serena. I couldn't help overhearing. I'm Margaret Collins, trustee at the Metropolitan Museum. What just happened was completely unacceptable. Dr. Serena Hayes, they shook hands. And yes, it was, but unfortunately not surprising. Margaret handed Serena her business card. Call me. I'd like to help. Outside in the crisp autumn air, Serena took a deep breath before calling her colleague, Dr. Lawrence Washington. Lawrence, it's exactly as we suspected, complete stonewalling. She detailed the interaction. We anticipated this might happen, Lawrence replied. Are you ready to implement Plan B? Serena smiled for the first time that day. Absolutely. Contact Rachel Morgan. Tell her the Phillips Foundation is about to make a very interesting investment. As Serena hailed a taxi, she thought about her late husband James, who had always told her that justice required both patience and strategy. The auction house had just made a serious mistake, but they wouldn't realize it until it was too late. The taxi pulled up. Where to, ma'am? The driver asked. The Phillips Foundation, please, Serena replied, already planning her next move. I have an important meeting with the CEO. The sleek glass headquarters of the Phillips Foundation stood in stark contrast to the classical architecture of the Thornwood Auction House. Serena Hayes stepped into the lobby with purpose, her heels clicking confidently across the polished marble floor. The security guard recognized her immediately. Good afternoon, Dr. Hayes. Ms. Morgan is expecting you. Rachel Morgan, CEO of the Phillips Foundation and Serena's former college roommate, was waiting in her corner office. At 54, Rachel had transformed her family's old money into a powerful force for social change. Her silver blonde hair was cut in a sharp bob that framed her determined face. I heard what happened, Rachel said, rising to embrace Serena. Lawrence called. Thornwood's a dinosaur running an outdated institution. Serena placed her phone on the desk, playing the recorded interaction. Rachel's expression hardened as she listened. Classic Thornwood, Rachel said when the recording ended. His father was just as bad. The apple didn't fall far from the racist tree. We anticipated this, Serena replied, taking a seat. Which is why we need to activate our contingency plan. Rachel nodded, pressing her intercom. Send in Marcus, please. Marcus Chen, the Foundation's 35-year-old legal counsel, entered with a tablet in hand. His expertise in both art law and civil rights made him invaluable for situations like this. Dr. Hayes, I've reviewed your recording. Thornwood violated at least 3 anti-discrimination statutes, Marcus explained. But litigation would take years and those artifacts could disappear into private collections by then. Exactly, Serena agreed. We need to secure those documents first, then address the discrimination. Rachel smiled. Which is why the Phillips Foundation is about to become very interested in historical documents. She turned her computer monitor toward Serena, revealing financial figures that made the museum curator's eyes widen. The Foundation is prepared to commit $5 million to this acquisition, Rachel stated, with you as our anonymous advisor. Serena studied the numbers. That's far more than necessary. The collection's estimated value is under $2 million. We're not just buying artifacts, Rachel replied. We're buying a lesson in consequences. Marcus opened a folder. We've established a shell company, Horizon Acquisitions. I'll attend as their representative. No connection to you or the Foundation will be apparent. Serena considered the plan. And after the auction, once we acquire the collection, Rachel explained, the Phillips Foundation will publicly donate it to the National Museum of African American History, with considerable media coverage. And that's when we reveal the discrimination? Serena asked. Marcus nodded. With documented evidence and witnesses, the timing will maximize both legal and public relations impact. There's something else, Rachel added, sliding a folder across the desk. We've been compiling a dossier on Thornwood for months. Your experience wasn't isolated. Serena paged through documented incidents spanning years, multiple black collectors and institutions. All systematically excluded, Rachel confirmed. Thornwood has been steering culturally significant black artifacts into the hands of white collectors for decades. Serena's jaw tightened. Controlling the narrative by controlling who owns the historical record. Precisely, Marcus said. We've identified at least 20 affected parties willing to testify. Serena thought of the red-haired woman who had approached her. Add Margaret Collins to your witness list, Metropolitan Museum trustee. She saw everything today. Rachel made a note. Perfect. A white witness from an established institution adds credibility. Unfortunately, Serena sighed. Unfortunately, Rachel agreed. Now let's discuss the auction strategy. For the next hour, they refined their plan. Marcus would attend the auction as the Horizon representative with Dr. Lawrence Washington as his advisor. The bidding would be strategic, aggressive enough to win but measured enough not to attract undue attention. As the meeting concluded, Rachel's assistant entered with a manila envelope. "This just arrived from our investigator," she said, handing it to Rachel. Rachel examined the contents, then smiled grimly. "It seems Thornwood himself has a particular interest in the Wilson collection. His great-grandfather was Wilson's business partner." Serena leaned forward. And Wilson made his fortune selling enslaved people," Rachel replied. "Thornwood's family wealth comes directly from the slave trade." Serena understood immediately. He doesn't want these documents public because they implicate his family. "Exactly," Rachel confirmed. "This isn't just about racism, it's about covering up historical crimes." Serena stood, renewed determination in her eyes. "Then securing these artifacts isn't just about preservation, it's about justice." As she prepared to leave, Serena received a text from an unknown number. "This is Margaret Collins. I've been researching Thornwood since our meeting. There's more you should know. Can we meet?" Serena showed the message to Rachel and Marcus. "Interesting timing," Marcus observed. "Could be coincidence," Rachel mused, "or she knows something important." Serena typed a response. "I'd like that. Coffee at the Westfield Hotel, 7 p.m. The reply came quickly. "Perfect, I'll be there." As Serena left the Phillips Foundation, her phone rang. The caller ID showed Thornwood Auction House. "Record this," Rachel advised before Serena departed. Serena answered, activating her recorder. "Dr. Hayes speaking." Victor Thornwood's smooth voice oozed false cordiality. "Dr. Hayes, I wanted to personally apologize for our misunderstanding earlier. Upon further review, we've determined there is space for the National Museum at tomorrow's auction after all." Serena's eyes narrowed. "What changed, Mr. Thornwood?" "Let's just say I've had some time to reconsider the museum's importance," he replied evasively. "However, the registration fee remains $50,000. I assume that's still within your means." "It is," Serena confirmed, maintaining her composure despite her suspicion. "Excellent, we'll expect your representative tomorrow then." He paused. "Oh, and Dr. Hayes, I'd appreciate your discretion regarding our earlier interaction. Misunderstandings happen in the best institutions." "Indeed they do, Mr. Thornwood, indeed they do." As she ended the call, Serena's mind raced. Thornwood's sudden reversal suggested he discovered something, perhaps about the Phillips Foundation's interest, or maybe Margaret Collins had made waves. Either way, it changed nothing about their plan. The sun was setting as Serena hailed a taxi to the Westfield Hotel, casting long shadows across the city. Whatever Margaret Collins knew, it would either strengthen their position or reveal new complications. Either way, Serena was prepared. Justice, as her late husband James always said, was a marathon, not a sprint, and Serena Hayes had been training for this race her entire life. The Westfield Hotel's cafe offered discreet seating in alcoves designed for private conversations. Serena arrived 10 minutes early, selecting a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. She ordered tea and reviewed her notes while waiting for Margaret Collins. Precisely 7 p.m., Margaret entered, her distinctive red hair immediately visible. She scanned the room, spotted Serena, and approached with purposeful strides. "Dr. Hayes, thank you for meeting me," Margaret said, settling into the chair opposite Serena. Her voice carried the slight lilt of old Boston money. "Please call me Serena, and thank you for reaching out." The server took Margaret's order, black coffee, no sugar, and departed. "I want to be direct," Margaret began, leaning forward. "What happened today at Thornwood's was inexcusable, but unfortunately not surprising. I've been documenting Victor Thornwood's discriminatory practices for nearly 18 months. Serena's eyebrows raised slightly. 18 months, that's quite a commitment. It became necessary after I witnessed similar treatment of Dr. James Chen from the Asian American Heritage Museum. Margaret extracted a thin tablet from her bag. "I'm not just a Metropolitan trustee, I also chair the Council for Ethical Practices in Art Acquisition." Serena nodded, pieces connecting. "I've heard of your work. You published the guidelines on repatriation of colonial artifacts." "Yes, and we've been building a case against several auction houses, Thornwood's being the most egregious." Margaret activated her tablet, revealing organized folders of documentation. "After what I witnessed today, I thought you should know you're not alone and that allies exist." Serena studied Margaret carefully. "Why are you sharing this with me specifically?" "2 reasons." Margaret swiped to a new screen. "First, your reputation precedes you. Your work recovering and contextualizing artifacts from the Harlem Renaissance was groundbreaking. And the second reason," Margaret hesitated, "this Wilson collection, there's something in it Thornwood desperately wants to remain private." She passed a document across the table. "This is a personal letter from Elizabeth Wilson to her sister, dated 1862. Serena read carefully, her historian's mind quickly processing the implications. This suggests Wilson wasn't just a business partner with Thornwood's ancestor. They were actively falsifying documentation about ownership transfers during the war. Exactly. They were essentially laundering ownership records of people they had no legal right to sell, even under the abhorrent laws of that time. Margaret took a sip of her coffee. If these documents become public, the Thornwood fortune could be legally challenged. There are living descendants of those who were illegally enslaved. Serena sat back, processing this information. That explains his sudden change of heart. He called me after we met, offering to let the museum participate in the auction after all. Margaret's eyes widened. He's planning something. Victor never reverses course unless he has an angle. My colleagues and I reached the same conclusion. Serena decided to trust Margaret with a partial truth. We've arranged for a separate buyer to bid on our behalf. Smart, Margaret nodded approvingly. But be careful, Thornwood is well connected with other collectors. He'll have planted ringers to drive up the price, possibly beyond museum budgets. Our buyer's resources are substantial. Margaret seemed satisfied with this. Good, now there's something else you should know. She slid another document across the table. This is tomorrow's auction catalog. The Wilson collection has been split into 3 separate lots. Serena examined the catalog with growing concern. They're separating the personal correspondence from the ledgers and the first-hand accounts. That wasn't the original arrangement. It's a classic Thornwood tactic, Margaret explained. By splitting the collection, he ensures no single buyer can acquire the complete historical record. The most damning documents will likely go to his allies. Serena took a slow, measured breath. This complicated matters. When was this change made? The revised catalog was distributed electronically 1 hour ago. Most potential buyers won't notice until they arrive tomorrow. Serena needed to contact Rachel and Marcus immediately, but maintained her composed exterior. Thank you for this information, Margaret. It's invaluable. There's one more thing. Margaret leaned closer, lowering her voice. I've arranged for several colleagues from major institutions to attend tomorrow, people who have also been tracking Thornwood's practices. Whatever happens, there will be witnesses from the art world establishment. Serena nodded appreciatively. That could be very helpful. As they finished their drinks, they exchanged contact information. Margaret prepared to leave but paused. May I ask what your museum plans to do with these documents should you acquire them? Create a public exhibition, Serena replied without hesitation. With full digital access to researchers and educational institutions, these stories deserve to be told. Margaret smiled. That's exactly what I hope to hear. She stood, gathering her belongings. Good luck tomorrow, Serena. I suspect you'll need it. After Margaret departed, Serena immediately called Rachel. They've split the collection into 3 lots, she explained without preamble. We'll need to revise our strategy. I'm putting you on speaker with Marcus, Rachel replied. How significantly does this change things? Serena detailed the new arrangement and the information about the Wilson-Thornwood connection. This actually works in our favor, Marcus observed after she finished. 3 separate purchases will attract less attention than 1 large acquisition. And I've just received confirmation that our funding has been approved for up to $7 million, Rachel added. The board was quite moved by the historical significance. Serena felt a surge of gratitude for her allies. There's one more thing. Margaret Collins has arranged for representatives from major art institutions to attend as witnesses. Excellent, Rachel said. The more witnesses, the better our position afterward. They refined their strategy for another 30 minutes. Marcus would still represent Horizon Acquisitions, but now with 2 additional colleagues posing as separate buyers for the other lots. As Serena ended the call, her phone buzzed with a text from her son Michael. Mom, saw Thornwood's name in your calendar. Please tell me you're not dealing with that man again. Call me. Serena smiled. Michael, now 28 and a civil rights attorney, had inherited his father's protective instincts and passion for justice. She dialed his number. Mom, Michael answered immediately. What's going on with Thornwood? It's a long story, but we're handling it strategically, Serena assured him. The Phillips Foundation is involved. Michael whistled low. Rachel Morgan doesn't play around, but still, after what happened last time. This time we're prepared, Serena said firmly, and we have evidence, allies, and resources. Do you want me there tomorrow? I can rearrange my schedule. Serena considered this. Having legal counsel present could be valuable, but she worried about compromising their strategy. Not at the auction, but afterward we'll definitely need your expertise. I'll clear my calendar for the afternoon, Michael promised. And Mom, be careful, these people play dirty. I know, sweetheart. But so do we when necessary. After ending the call, Serena returned to her apartment, reviewing Margaret's documents late into the night. The Wilson collection was even more significant than she'd initially realized. These weren't just historical artifacts, they were potential legal evidence. As she prepared for bed, Serena gazed at the photograph of her late husband on her nightstand. James had been her rock, her strategist, her courage during 30 years of marriage. "We're close to something important, James," she whispered. "Wish you were here to see it." She set her alarm for 5:30 a.m. Tomorrow would require perfect execution, sharp attention, and steel nerves. Thornwood had decades of practice maintaining the status quo that benefited him, but Serena Hayes had decades of experience dismantling such systems, piece by documented piece. The auction began at 9 a.m. The game was about to change. The atmosphere in Thornwood Auction House hummed with anticipation. By 8:30 a.m., the Grand Hall was filled with collectors, representatives from prestigious institutions, and various dealers, all eyeing each other with a mixture of professional courtesy and competitive assessment. Marcus Chen, impeccably dressed in a charcoal Tom Ford suit, positioned himself near the center of the room. His two colleagues, Amara Akafer and David Liang, both seasoned art acquisition specialists from the Phillips Foundation, stationed themselves at opposite corners, maintaining a careful appearance of being unconnected parties. Serena monitored events remotely from Rachel Morgan's office, where they had established a makeshift command center. A secure line connected them to Marcus's nearly invisible earpiece. "Thornwood just entered," Marcus murmured, appearing to adjust his cufflinks. Speaking with three men in the northeast corner, Rachel, studying the video feed from Marcus's hidden camera, zoomed in on the group. The one on the left is Charles Whitmore, private collector with ties to several problematic auction houses. The others are new faces. At 8:45 a.m., Serena received a text from Margaret Collins, in position with colleagues, 5 institutional witnesses present. "Perfect," Serena replied to Rachel. "Margaret has assembled a reliable witness group." The auction began precisely at 9 a.m. Victor Thornwood took the podium with practiced charm, welcoming the distinguished guests with particular emphasis on several prominent white collectors. The first hour proceeded with various antiques and artwork, warm-up items before the main attractions. At 10:17 a.m., the auctioneer announced the first lot from the Wilson collection, the business ledgers and financial documents. "Let the games begin," Rachel muttered. David Liang, positioned as a representative of Eastern Heritage Acquisitions, entered the bidding at $300,000. The price climbed steadily, with Whitmore's aggressive bidding pushing it to $650,000 within minutes. "Whitmore's bidding pattern suggests he's not the end buyer," Marcus observed quietly. "He's bidding for someone else." At $800,000, the room quieted as several bidders dropped out. Only Whitmore and David remained. With a subtle nod from Rachel, David pushed to $950,000. Whitmore hesitated, then raised to $975,000. "He's reaching his limit," Rachel observed. "Go to $1.1 million. David made the bid. Whitmore conferred quickly with someone via text, then reluctantly shook his head. The auctioneer's gavel fell. "Lot 1 secured," Marcus confirmed. Serena exhaled. "One down, 2 to go." The second lot, the personal correspondence between Wilson and various business associates, including Thornwood's ancestor, came up 30 minutes later. This time, Amara took the lead as a representative of New Horizon Historical Trust. Bidding started at $250,000 but quickly escalated when Thornwood himself entered the fray. His personal interest confirmed the document's sensitivity. "He's driving up the price deliberately," Serena noted. "He wants these letters." The bidding passed $600,000, then $800,000. At $1.2 million, many attendees shifted uncomfortably. The price far exceeded market value. "He's determined," Rachel said grimly. "Amara, go to $1.5 million. Amara made the bid. Thornwood's face tightened almost imperceptibly before he countered with $1.6 million. Rachel and Serena exchanged glances. "Go to $2 million, Serena decided. "If he continues beyond that, we'll reassess." The bid silenced the room. Thornwood's hand clenched his paddle, knuckles whitening. After a moment of visible internal struggle, he placed it down. "Going once, going twice." "Sold to bidder 157 for $2 million, the auctioneer announced. Through Marcus's camera, Serena watched Thornwood's controlled fury as he whispered urgently to an associate. "He's mobilizing," Marcus warned. "Something's happening before the third lot." The auction continued with several minor items, clearly fillers before the final Wilson lot. During this interval, Serena noticed Thornwood moving through the room, speaking briefly with several attendees. "He's coordinating," Rachel realized. "Rallying allies for the final lot." Margaret confirmed this with a text. "Thornwood approaching multiple bidders appears to be forming coalition." When the third and most historically significant lot was announced, the first-hand accounts from formerly enslaved individuals, the room's energy shifted palpably. These narratives contained the most damning evidence against the Wilson-Thornwood business practices. The bidding opened at $400,000, with Marcus entering as Horizon Acquisitions. Immediately, 4 other bidders joined, pushing the price to $900,000 in rapid succession. Coordinated strategy, Marcus murmured. They're driving up increments, then will likely delegate to a single bidder. As predicted, three bidders suddenly withdrew, consolidating behind one elderly white man Serena recognized as Harrison Bedford, a notorious collector who kept historical artifacts from public view. The price climbed relentlessly. $1.3 million, $1.7 million, $2.2 million. They're determined to secure this at any cost, Rachel observed, tension evident in her voice. So are we, Serena replied firmly. Go to $3 million. Marcus made the bid. A ripple of shock passed through the room. Such a price for historical documents was unprecedented. Bedford conferred with Thornwood, then raised to $3.2 million. Final authorization? Rachel asked Serena. Serena thought of the stories contained in those documents, voices that had been silenced, truths that had been hidden. Whatever it takes, Rachel nodded. Marcus, go to $4 million. The bid brought audible gasps. Bedford and Thornwood huddled in urgent consultation with several others. After a tense minute, Bedford raised his paddle. $4.5 million. The auctioneer could barely conceal his astonishment. I have $4.5 million from bidder 42, do I hear? $5 million, Marcus stated clearly. A heavy silence fell. Thornwood's face had gone rigid with barely controlled fury. Bedford looked questioningly at him, but Thornwood, after a long pause, gave a subtle shake of his head. Going once, going twice. The auctioneer's voice echoed in the silent hall. Sold to bidder 118 for $5 million. A collective exhale rippled through the room. Serena and Rachel exchanged triumphant glances. The Wilson collection, all three lots, had been secured. Through the camera, Serena watched as Margaret Collins caught her eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod of approval. Several of her colleagues were documenting the proceedings discreetly. Marcus maintained his professional composure as he approached the payment processing area. Thornwood intercepted him. Impressive bidding, Mr. Chen, Marcus Chen, representing Horizon Acquisitions. I don't believe I'm familiar with your firm. Thornwood's tone remained cordial, but his eyes were calculating. We're relatively new to this market, Marcus replied smoothly, but deeply committed to preserving historical documents. Indeed, well, congratulations on your acquisition. Thornwood's smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm curious, though, what does Horizon intend to do with these rather specialized items? That decision rests with my clients, Marcus answered. I'm simply their representative. Thornwood stepped closer, lowering his voice. Perhaps your clients would entertain a private offer, say $6 million for just the third lot. I'm not authorized to negotiate post-auction sales, Mr. Thornwood, but I'll certainly convey your interest. Thornwood's expression hardened momentarily before resuming its practiced charm. Please do. Some histories are complex, best interpreted by those with proper context. History belongs to everyone, Mr. Thornwood, Marcus replied evenly, especially those whose stories have been systematically erased. Thornwood's eyes narrowed at the pointed comment. You speak as if you have a personal stake in these matters. Everyone should have a stake in historical truth, shouldn't they? Before Thornwood could respond, the auction house staff called Marcus to complete his transaction. As he walked away, Serena heard Thornwood speaking urgently on his phone. He's scrambling, Rachel observed. Trying to identify Horizon Acquisitions and its backers. Let him scramble, Serena replied, satisfaction evident in her voice. Phase 1 is complete. As the auction concluded, Margaret approached Marcus, introducing herself as if they were strangers. Their brief public exchange established a connection that would prove valuable in the coming days. By 3 p.m., all three lots had been secured and payment arrangements completed through the Phillips Foundation's carefully structured channels. The artifacts would be transported to a secure facility that evening. Serena called her son Michael. We've secured all three lots, now we prepare for Phase 2. The press conference? Michael asked. Yes, 3 days from now, the Phillips Foundation will announce its donation of the Wilson collection to the National Museum of African American History. That's when we'll need your legal expertise. I'll be ready, Michael promised. And Mom, I'm proud of you. Serena's smile carried decades of purpose. This isn't just about me, Michael. It's about all those whose stories these documents contain. They deserved justice then, and they deserve it now. As she ended the call, Serena received a message from an unknown number. Dr. Hayes, Victor Thornwood here. I believe we have matters to discuss regarding today's auction. Please call at your earliest convenience. Serena showed the message to Rachel. He's figured it out, Rachel said. Or he's fishing, Serena countered. Either way, we proceed as planned. She deleted Thornwood's message without responding. The real confrontation was yet to come, and Serena Hayes was more than prepared. Within hours of the auction's conclusion, the carefully orchestrated second phase of Serena's plan commenced. In the secure conference room at the Phillips Foundation, a strategy meeting was underway. Thornwood made 17 calls in the 2 hours following the auction, Marcus reported, displaying a digital timeline on the main screen. Our intelligence indicates he's identified the connection between all three purchasing entities. Rachel nodded, reviewing the data. Expected, his resources are substantial. Serena studied the surveillance photos showing Thornwood in animated conversation with Charles Whitmore and Harrison Bedford outside the auction house. He's mobilizing his allies. We need to accelerate our timeline. Michael Hayes, who had arrived directly from court, loosened his tie as he analyzed the legal documents. The purchase agreements are ironclad. Thornwood has no legal recourse to invalidate the sales. Legal recourse isn't my concern, Serena replied. It's what he might attempt outside legal channels. As if on cue, Serena's phone rang Thornwood again. She activated the speakerphone, recording engaged. Dr. Hayes, thank you for returning my call, Thornwood began, his tone artificially pleasant. I didn't return your call, Mr. Thornwood. You called me, Serena corrected calmly. What can I do for you? A brief pause. I believe we have a mutual interest to discuss regarding today's auction results. The Phillips Foundation made quite an impressive acquisition. Serena exchanged glances with Rachel. Thornwood had indeed connected the dots. I wasn't aware you knew who the ultimate buyer was, Serena replied carefully. Let's not play games, Dr. Hayes. Horizon Acquisitions and its sister companies are Phillips Foundation fronts, and you've been advising Rachel Morgan. His voice hardened. Those documents were acquired under false pretenses. The documents were acquired at a public auction with full compliance with all applicable laws, Serena stated firmly. If you're suggesting otherwise, I recommend you consult with your legal team before making potentially libelous claims. Michael nodded approvingly at his mother's response. Perhaps we could discuss this privately, Thornwood suggested, his tone shifting to conciliatory. There are aspects of those documents that require contextual understanding. The Phillips Foundation might be interested in my family's perspective before making any public presentations. Serena maintained her composure. Any historical contextualization would certainly include multiple perspectives, Mr. Thornwood. The museum's curatorial team specializes in presenting comprehensive historical narratives. I'm offering you an opportunity, Dr. Hayes, Thornwood's voice took on an edge. My family is prepared to make a substantial donation to your museum, $10 million, in exchange for certain curatorial considerations regarding the Wilson collection. Rachel silently mouthed, he's bribing you, while Marcus documented the conversation. Are you suggesting we should alter historical presentation in exchange for a donation? Serena asked pointedly. I'm suggesting a mutually beneficial arrangement, Thornwood replied smoothly. History is always open to interpretation. My family's interpretation deserves representation. Mr. Thornwood, historical documents speak for themselves. The museum's mission is to present primary sources accurately, not to privilege certain interpretations over others, particularly when financial incentives are involved. A lengthy silence followed. When Thornwood spoke again, his tone had chilled considerably. You've made a serious miscalculation, Dr. Hayes. There are other ways to address this situation. Is that a threat, Mr. Thornwood? Merely an observation. Good day. The line went dead. Well, Rachel said after a moment, that was unambiguous. He just attempted to bribe a federal museum official. Michael was already taking notes. We'll add it to the file. The recording is admissible under single-party consent laws. Serena remained thoughtful. He'll move quickly now. We need to secure the artifacts immediately and accelerate the public announcement. Marcus checked his watch. The transportation team is en route to the auction house now. Estimated arrival at our secure facility is 8:30 p.m. Not soon enough, Serena decided. Rachel, can we deploy additional security? Already done, Rachel confirmed, showing Serena her tablet. 4-person team, former federal agents dispatched 20 minutes ago. Serena nodded appreciatively. Michael, prepare the press release. We'll announce the donation tomorrow morning rather than waiting 3 days. What about the discrimination complaint? Marcus asked. File it concurrently, Serena directed. We need to establish a public record immediately. As the team dispersed to execute their revised strategy, Serena received a text from Margaret Collins. Thornwood, seen leaving auction house with Bedford, appeared agitated. My contacts report unusual activity at the document processing department. Serena forwarded this to Rachel with a single addition: expedite extraction. By 7:15 p.m., Rachel received confirmation that their security team had secured the artifacts and was en route to the Foundation's facility. The tracking system showed their vehicle moving steadily through evening traffic. At 7:43 p.m., however, an alert sounded on Marcus's laptop. We have a problem, he announced, pulling up a traffic map. Our transport is being followed. 2 vehicles, coordinated movements. Rachel immediately contacted the security team leader. Jenkins, you have a tail, 2 vehicles, professional operation. Acknowledged, came the terse reply, implementing countermeasures. For the next 15 minutes, they watched as the transport vehicle executed a series of defensive driving maneuvers, eventually losing one pursuer but unable to shake the second. "They're approaching the Westbridge Tunnel," Marcus observed. "Limited options there." The security team leader's voice came through. "We have a police intercept incoming. Anonymous tip reported our vehicle as stolen." Serena and Rachel exchanged alarmed glances. "Thornwood has police contacts," Rachel realized. "Jenkins," Serena spoke urgently into the communication system, "proceed to contingency point Delta. Immediately. Copy that, diverting now." The tracking system showed the vehicle changing course, heading toward the National Museum of African American History instead of the Phillips Foundation. "Smart," Michael commented. "Federal property, local police jurisdiction ends at the perimeter. And I've alerted our security director," Serena added. "Federal Protective Services are standing by." They watched tensely as the transport navigated through evening traffic, the pursuit vehicle maintaining distance but remaining present. As they approached the museum perimeter, a cordon of federal agents appeared, intercepting the tail vehicle while the transport proceeded to the secure loading dock. At 8:37 p.m., Jenkins confirmed success, packages secured on federal property, chain of custody documented and witnessed. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. "One problem solved," Serena noted. But Thornwood just demonstrated considerable resources and connections. "We need to protect our witnesses and documentation." "Already on it," Michael assured her, displaying a series of legal filings on his tablet. "I've prepared emergency motions for protective orders covering all our witnesses, documentation, and the artifacts themselves." "File them tonight," Serena instructed. "Judge Watkins is on rotation, she'll understand the urgency." "What about the media announcement?" Marcus asked. "Draft release goes out at 6 a.m., Rachel confirmed. "Major outlets are already receiving background information about the historical significance of the collection." Serena nodded, then paused as her phone buzzed with an email alert. She opened it, her expression darkening. "What is it?" Rachel asked. "Thornwood's next move," Serena replied, displaying the email. "The Board of Trustees at Thornwood Auction House has filed a formal complaint alleging improper collusion between the museum and the Phillips Foundation to manipulate auction prices." Michael scanned the document. "Standard intimidation tactic, no legal merit but designed to create doubt around the acquisition." "There's more," Serena continued, scrolling down. "They're specifically questioning my professional conduct and suggesting conflict of interest." Rachel's expression hardened. "He's attacking you personally." "As expected," Serena replied with surprising calm. "Phase 3, Michael looked confused. "Phase 3, Serena smiled grimly. "The counterattack," she turned to Marcus. "Release the full dossier on Thornwood's discriminatory practices to our media contacts, all of it." "All," Marcus confirmed, "including the historical family connections." "Everything," Serena confirmed. "And Michael, contact the other victims of Thornwood's discrimination." "It's time for them to come forward." Rachel studied her friend with admiration. "You anticipated this." "James always said, when fighting systemic injustice, expect the system to fight back." Serena's voice carried the weight of experience. "But systems rely on shadows and silence. We're bringing everything into the light." As the team mobilized, Serena stepped away briefly to the window overlooking the city lights. She thought of all the stories contained in those artifacts, lives that had been commodified, experiences that had been erased, truths that had been buried. "Not anymore," she whispered. Her phone rang an unknown number. Serena answered cautiously. "Dr. Hayes." The voice was unfamiliar, female, elderly. "Yes, who's speaking?" "My name is Eliza Wilson-Johnson. I believe you have some documents that contain my great-great-grandfather's story." Serena's breath caught. "You're a descendant of Samuel Wilson?" "Yes, I've been tracking these documents for decades. When I heard they were finally surfacing at auction, I contacted Ms. Collins." "Ms. Collins never mentioned." "I asked her not to. I needed to be certain the documents would be properly preserved." The woman's voice carried dignity earned through generations. "When may I see them?" Serena felt the weight of history pressing upon her. "As soon as they're properly secured and cataloged, perhaps tomorrow afternoon." "I'll be there," Eliza confirmed. "And Dr. Hayes, thank you for bringing my family's truth into the light. We've waited a very long time." As Serena ended the call, she realized the entire room had gone quiet, everyone sensing the gravity of the moment. She turned to face her team, her expression resolute. "Tomorrow," she said simply, "we make history right." By 5 a.m., the Phillips Foundation's media strategy was already in motion. Carefully selected journalists received embargoed press packets containing photographs of key artifacts from the Wilson collection, authenticated historical context, and most explosively, a comprehensive dossier documenting Thornwood Auction House's pattern of discriminatory practices spanning 2 decades. Serena arrived at the museum at 6:30 a.m., joining the curatorial team already preparing the temporary exhibition space. The artifacts had been carefully unpacked, cataloged, and placed in climate-controlled display cases under the watchful eyes of security personnel. The conservation assessment is complete, Dr. Amina Johnson, the museum's head conservator, reported. All items are in excellent condition, no evidence of tampering during transport. Serena nodded with relief. Thank you, Amina. How soon can we have them ready for public viewing? The essential conservation protocols will be complete by noon. We can open a preliminary exhibition by 2 p.m. Perfect. We have a special visitor coming at 3 p.m. Serena briefly explained about Eliza Wilson-Johnson. Amina's eyes widened. A direct descendant, that's extraordinary. We should document her reactions and insights with her permission, of course. At 7:30 a.m., the Phillips Foundation issued its official press release announcing the acquisition and donation of the Wilson collection to the National Museum of African American History. Simultaneously, the museum's own announcement emphasized the historical significance of the documents. By 8:15 a.m., major news outlets began reporting the story. The initial coverage focused primarily on the unprecedented $8.2 million total paid for historical documents related to formerly enslaved Americans, a record that underscored their historical value. Serena, Rachel, Marcus, and Michael gathered in the museum's conference room, monitoring media coverage while preparing for Thornwood's inevitable response. CNN is leading with the historical significance angle, Marcus noted, surveying the various screens. MSNBC is highlighting the Phillips Foundation's commitment to preserving African American history. Washington Post has picked up on the discrimination angle, Michael added. They're requesting comment from Thornwood. At 9:23 a.m., Thornwood Auction House issued a tersely worded statement denying any discriminatory practices and questioning the ethical propriety of the Phillips Foundation's coordinated bidding strategy. Predictable, Rachel commented. They're attempting to reframe this as procedural impropriety rather than addressing the discrimination. It won't work, Michael said confidently. Submitted our formal discrimination complaint to the Attorney General's office with supporting documentation from 23 witnesses, including Margaret Collins and her colleagues. Serena checked her watch. The press conference is scheduled for 10:30 a.m. Are our witnesses prepared? All confirmed, Marcus affirmed. Dr. James Chen, Dr. Layla Mahmood, and 4 others will speak about their experiences with Thornwood. Margaret Collins will represent the Council for Ethical Practices. At 10 a.m., Serena received an urgent call from the museum's security director. Dr. Hayes, Victor Thornwood is at the main entrance demanding to see you. He's accompanied by legal counsel. Serena exchanged glances with her team. This is earlier than anticipated. Do you want to postpone the confrontation? Rachel asked. Serena shook her head. No, let's address this now before the press conference. Michael, you'll join me. Marcus, alert our legal team. In the museum's formal reception room, Victor Thornwood waited, impeccably dressed as always, but with tension evident in his rigid posture. Beside him stood an austere woman in a tailored suit, whom Serena immediately recognized as Patricia Harrington, one of Washington's most formidable corporate attorneys. Dr. Hayes, Thornwood began without preamble, this situation has escalated unnecessarily. I'm here to propose a resolution. Mr. Thornwood, Serena replied calmly. This is my son, Michael Hayes, who serves as counsel for the museum in this matter. Michael stepped forward, professional and composed. Ms. Harrington, good to see you again. Harrington nodded curtly. Mr. Hayes, I wasn't aware you were representing the museum. Recent development, Michael replied smoothly. Thornwood appeared momentarily discomfited by this connection but recovered quickly. Dr. Hayes, I'll be direct. The manner in which these artifacts were acquired raises serious legal and ethical questions. What specific legal concerns do you have, Mr. Thornwood? Serena asked. Harrington interjected. The coordinated bidding strategy employed by the Phillips Foundation's shell companies potentially violates auction house regulations regarding collusion. Michael smiled slightly. Interesting theory. However, auction house regulations specifically permit multiple related entities to bid independently provided they disclose common ownership in their registration documents, which Horizon Acquisitions and its affiliates did. Thornwood's jaw tightened. Regardless of technical compliance, the intent was clearly to manipulate the auction process. The intent, Serena countered, was to ensure historically significant artifacts weren't dispersed into private collections or acquired by parties who might suppress their contents. Which brings us to our proposal, Thornwood stated. The Thornwood Foundation is prepared to purchase these artifacts for $12 million, considerably more than you paid, with a commitment to donate them to a historical institution of mutual agreement. Serena studied him carefully. And which institution would you suggest? The American Heritage Foundation has expressed interest in creating a dedicated exhibition. A conservative think tank with no archival expertise or public accessibility, Serena noted. That's not a serious proposal, Mr. Thornwood. Thornwood's expression hardened. Then perhaps we should discuss the other matter. Which matter is that? Serena asked, though she knew precisely what was coming. The irresponsible and defamatory dossier your foundation has distributed to the press. It contains numerous unsubstantiated allegations that could severely damage Thornwood Auction House's reputation. Michael stepped forward. Every allegation in that dossier is supported by sworn witness statements, documented evidence, and statistical analysis demonstrating systematic discrimination. If you believe any specific claim is defamatory, we welcome your detailed response. Harrington placed a restraining hand on Thornwood's arm as he began to respond heatedly. Our client maintains these allegations are without merit. However, in the interest of avoiding protracted litigation, we're prepared to discuss a confidential settlement. Including a non-disclosure agreement, I presume? Serena asked. Standard practice in such matters, Harrington confirmed. Serena exchanged a glance with Michael, who gave a nearly imperceptible nod. Ms. Harrington, Mr. Thornwood, I appreciate your attempt to resolve this quietly, Serena began. However, the discrimination we've documented isn't merely a private grievance. It represents a pattern of behavior that has systematically excluded Black collectors, scholars, and institutions from accessing culturally significant artifacts. She paused, making direct eye contact with Thornwood. This isn't about money, it's about accountability and changing systems that perpetuate discrimination. Thornwood's face flushed. You're making a serious mistake, Dr. Hayes. The Thornwood name has stood for excellence in art and antiquities for over a century. Excellence for whom? Serena asked pointedly. The Wilson collection documents how your family built its initial wealth through the sale of illegally acquired human beings. Now you continue that legacy by ensuring artifacts that tell Black American stories remain controlled by white collectors and institutions. That's outrageous, Thornwood sputtered. It's documented, Michael corrected quietly, sliding a folder across the table. Including this particularly illuminating letter from your great-grandfather explaining the importance of maintaining proper custodianship of certain historical items to preserve appropriate historical narratives. Harrington quickly scanned the document, her professional composure momentarily faltering. Where did you obtain this? It was part of the Wilson collection, Serena explained. Along with several other enlightening exchanges between your client's ancestors and prominent collectors of the early 20th century. Thornwood's face had gone completely pale. Those are private family documents. They're historical artifacts, Serena corrected, and they'll be available for public viewing starting this afternoon. Thornwood turned to his attorney. This is unacceptable. We need to seek an immediate injunction. On what grounds? Michael challenged. The documents were legally acquired at public auction. Their historical significance is self-evident. The public interest in access far outweighs any privacy claim. Before Harrington could respond, Serena's assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Hayes, the press is assembling for the conference, and Ms. Collins has arrived with the witnesses. Serena rose. Mr. Thornwood, Ms. Harrington, you're welcome to attend the press conference. In fact, I encourage it. Transparency serves everyone's interests in the long run. This isn't over, Thornwood warned, his voice low. You're right about that, Serena agreed, her dignity unshaken. This is just the beginning of necessary change. As Thornwood and Harrington departed, Rachel entered from a side door. That went exactly as you predicted. People like Thornwood follow predictable patterns, Serena observed. They believe money and power can solve any problem. Money and power can solve many problems, Michael noted, just not this one. At 10:30 a.m. precisely, Serena took her position at the podium in the museum's press room facing dozens of journalists and cameras. Rachel Morgan stood to her right, while Margaret Collins and the other witnesses were seated prominently in the front row. Good morning, Serena began, her voice clear and measured. Today marks a significant moment in our ongoing effort to preserve and present authentic American history. The Wilson Collection, comprising over 200 documents from 1860 to 1875, provides unique first-hand accounts from Americans who were formerly enslaved, along with business records that document the economic aspects of slavery and its aftermath. She continued, detailing the historical significance of the collection and acknowledging the Phillips Foundation's generous acquisition and donation. However, she added, this press conference is about more than a single collection. It addresses a systemic issue in the art and antiquities market, the discriminatory practices that have prevented Black collectors, scholars, and institutions from accessing culturally significant artifacts. For the next 40 minutes, Serena and the witnesses presented a compelling case, supported by statistics, personal testimonies, and documented incidents spanning decades. Margaret Collins provided expert context on industry practices, while Dr. James Chen and others shared their personal experiences with Thornwood Auction House. As the press conference concluded, Serena made a final announcement. At 3 p.m. today, we will welcome a very special visitor to view these artifacts, Eliza Wilson-Johnson, a direct descendant of Samuel Wilson, whose first-hand account of his experiences is included in this collection. Ms. Wilson-Johnson has been searching for her ancestor's words for over 30 years. Today, she will finally hear his voice. The impact was immediate. By noon, the story had expanded far beyond a simple acquisition announcement, becoming a national conversation about discrimination in cultural institutions and the importance of historical truth. At 2:30 p.m., as the museum staff made final preparations for the collection's viewing, Serena received an alert that a temporary restraining order had been filed by Thornwood seeking to block public display of specific documents from the collection. "Predictable last-ditch effort," Michael commented after reviewing the filing. "Judge Watkins has already denied it." She cited clear public interest in historical accuracy. At precisely 3 p.m., Eliza Wilson-Johnson arrived at the museum. At 87, she walked slowly but with unmistakable dignity, accompanied by her granddaughter and great-grandson. Serena met them personally at the entrance. "Mrs. Wilson-Johnson, it's a profound honor to meet you." The elderly woman clasped Serena's hands firmly. "The honor is mine, Dr. Hayes. What you've accomplished here," her voice caught momentarily, "what you've restored to us cannot be measured." Serena escorted them to the special viewing room where the most significant documents from the collection were displayed. As Eliza approached the case containing Samuel Wilson's handwritten account, the room fell silent. "May I?" she asked, gesturing to the document. The conservator carefully opened the climate-controlled case and, wearing special gloves, held the fragile pages where Eliza could clearly see them. "I, Samuel Wilson, being of sound mind and body, do hereby record my testimony," Eliza read aloud, her voice gaining strength with each word, "that the world may know the truth of what was done to me and mine, and that my children's children may know their true history." Tears flowed freely down her weathered cheeks. He knew we would be looking for him. He left these words for us to find." In that moment, as cameras discreetly captured this powerful connection across generations, Serena understood more profoundly than ever the true significance of their work. This wasn't merely about exposing discrimination or holding one auction house accountable. It was about restoring voices that had been systematically silenced, reconnecting families with their authentic histories, and ensuring that truth, however difficult, remained accessible to all. As Eliza continued reading her ancestor's words, Serena noticed Victor Thornwood standing at the back of the room, watching silently. Their eyes met briefly. For once, he had nothing to say. The justice they had fought for wasn't just in the legal proceedings that would follow, or in the policy changes that various institutions would implement in response to this publicity. The deepest justice was happening right now, as Samuel Wilson's words, preserved against all odds, finally reached his great-great-granddaughter's ears. That was a victory no one could take away.